focus to other news. This regarding the decision that was taken by Ramachandra Guha to step down from the resign, in fact, from the Supreme Court appointed committee of administrators to clean up with respect to the Lodha reforms there within the BCCI. He's in fact now a day after resigning written an explosive scathing letter explaining why he chose to step down or what he's observed so far. This is being seen as a letter bomb that he's addressed to his colleagues at the COA, Mr. Vinod Rai in particular, in the observations that he's made so far over the past few months that he's been part of the COA there. Backs coach Kumble there saying that the matter was insensitively handled by the BCCI CEO, also questions why preference is given to certain players. A lot of these details are coming in this letter after having resigned from the Supreme Court appointed committee there of administrators, Ramachandra Guha. In this letter to the chairperson, Mr. Vinod Rai, which is dated June 2nd, today has in fact listed the reasons for this decision. We're going to be getting in more details on this letter and what really is he indicating with his observations that he's made and spelt out in this letter. We have with us our sports correspondent Aishwarya with those updates. Aishwarya, please go ahead.
Well, absolutely. It's a 7-point letter which Ram Guha has written to BCCI COA after 24 hours of resignation. Now the letter is out in public, and specifically there are 7 points which Ram Guha has written in his full letter, and he has hit out at the conflict of interest between MS Dhoni and Sunil Gavaskar as the high intention. And this letter specifically tells that the COA, however, cannot accept the resignation. Remember, it's on the July 14 that this letter has to be and his has to be heard in Supreme Court, but in this particular letter he has hit out at Kohli and Kumble rift and many issues that he has been pointing out. The first point is that he has questioned of conflict of interest which had led unaddressed ever since the committee began its work, and BCCI accorded a preferential treatment to some national coaches by giving 10-month contract on a national duty. So he has also mentioned in this letter the first point that the money and the pay and
conflict of interest, Aishwarya. The news point here on this, of course, being the examples that he's listed on the first issue of the conflict of interest.
Absolutely, and this first point is about the conflict of interest between Sunil Gavaskar's management company and association with Team India, MS Dhoni's management companies and his association with Team India. So he has also addressed these issues earlier with the BCCI COA, but has not addressed, and thus this first point refers to the conflict of interest.
The next, of course, where he also talks about the superstar syndrome. What does he really mean by that?
Well, absolutely, this point, BCCI CEO and other officials have already addressed about this issue earlier, but has not been addressed and has not been listened by the top officials earlier. But this has come out, and now when these addresses had not been addressed by the top officials, now Guha has written in his letter that it has to be listened, and thus he has written in this letter.
Yes, Aishwarya, we will have to get into more specifics because the letter is for all to read here on this while we get in these inputs. Talking about the superstar syndrome, he also points out awarding MS Dhoni an A contract when he himself has ruled himself out of all test matches was indefensible on cricketing grounds, sends absolutely the wrong message. He's of course tried to justify the points that he's raised with respect to examples of several instances and how he himself had written in letters in the past to his committee addressed to Mr. Vinod Rai. We're going to be getting in further inputs here. We have cricket analyst Mr. Himanshu Chaturvedi with us on the phone line. Himanshu, thanks for being with us. While we were speaking to you just yesterday when news broke of his resignation, you had of course talked about personal differences. But in this letter today, he's clearly listed out the observations that he's made and how on several fronts there has been a conflict of interest which continues, there is a superstar syndrome, and there is a zero commitment, so to say. He's gone to the extent of actually saying that not much commitment at the COA to really bring about that cleanup act or being serious about cleaning the system in the BCCI.
Well, I think this is a very sorry state for cricket today. I mean, then you had the mug all over, which we've been trying to clean at the media for the last 4 years, betting, exercise, manipulation by Srinivasan, then the elections, then the Supreme Court, and the whole cycle. You know, it seems it's a terrible time for cricket in India because, you know, it seems that the entire decision, the cricket is played in the court, not in the field. I mean, I'm a little hurt the way the game is heading to. And it's a very wrong time that Mr. Guha is raising this because we are already fighting against a Pakistan MOU letter there. So when you start to have infights here, and the outside is naturally going to take advantages of it.
Right.
And if there were differences, I'm sure there were only 3-4 people in the committee. Mr. Guha should have sat down and sorted out within the people up there. I mean, because he's making mockery.
But Himanshu, being fair to what he's really stated in this letter, would you agree with some of the examples, the instances that he's quoted in those observations, talking about the shoddy manner in which the contract issue with Anil Kumble was dealt with by the BCCI CEO, talking about conflict of interest, which you also have spoken about several times in the past?
Well, to an extent, I would agree with you that, you know, the things, the way the things have been handled. But the problem here is that there is nothing which is happening correct in cricket. That this committee which put in there to put things in the right perspective, have things in the right way. See, the biggest problem has been of this committee from the day it has taken over is the kind of people, I mean, I don't know whether you recollect, and that I did make an objection of what kind of people have gone on into there. Because if you have too many bigwigs, there are more ego problems. It's very difficult for an association to run if you have too many people of this.
Okay, but Himanshu, then that would lead us to asking what really is the solution, because the committee was put together keeping in mind that this is going to be the final stop to make sure that the BCCI follows, implements, respects the Lodha Committee recommendations for the Cleanup Act within, and it seems that the committee is in itself falling apart now.
Well, I think that the first and the foremost is today the exercise for the committee is to put the committee together, have differences sorted out within themselves. Do not allow anybody to walk out here, because here if you have differences within the committee, then the BCCI, which was running the game in a very murky manner, will have a great chance. And taking this instance, they will go back to the Supreme Court with a request that please, allow us to run the cricket, because if 4 people can't run it, we were running so many associations. You had 33 associations managed by a set of people. So they said, if you can't manage 4 people, then at least we were managing better than you. So I think that's this is a very bad instance which is happening. There may be points. Mr. Guha has some points. He can point out fingers that something is not wrong. But I'm sure every organization, every association, anything which has problems. You see, you might have your voice, the others might have their voice. Somebody might say this is correct, somebody might say that is correct. But those things should be sorted out within the boardroom.
Right, but he's explained on how he sees there is no way forward of really sorting out that problem, which is why he chose to step down. Himanshu, please stay with us. Mr. Krishna Swamy, cricket expert, with us on the phone line as well. Thanks for being with us. In your view, the points that he's raised, it seems that are the same issues that continue to plague the BCCI within, and you have the COA members stepping down saying that there's no hope.
I mean, I'm not surprised at all, In a sense, you can't change an organization which has been there for so long, 5, 6, 7 decades, and which has been running, not just a federation, but a fiefdom, to change overnight. And I think for Ram Guha to assume that it would have changed within 5 or 6 months would have been rather naive. But at the same time, I do appreciate the stand that he has taken, and he is very upfront about it. If we are going to have transparency, then let everybody say why they have joined or why they are quitting. I think, to say that, let, kind of the dirt be swept under the carpet, that's an attitude that needs to change. At some point of time, in the morning, I had actually jokingly tweeted. And at that time, I had not read Ram Guha's letter. And I said, soon we are going to come to a situation where the man on the street is going to select people who will be in the team. Maybe it could even be journalists. And the guys who are in the team are going to select the captain.
Right.
The captain will start selecting the coach. And together they will also start selecting the CEO and the board officials.
Okay.
And maybe the board will then decide who the ICC
Right, but Mr. Krishnaswamy, the points that Mr. Ramachandra Guha here has raised, that several times there was attempt being made by him. He's also mentioned his colleague at the COA, who's a former cricketer, Ms. Diana. They're saying that they've repeatedly urged action on certain fronts, more specifically speaking on how Ranji match fees should reach the cricketers well in time, but is stopped by several state associations. This being, of course, just one of the examples that he's mentioned there. Are you saying that he should have been more patient or given more time to this process instead of just stepping down and writing this explosive letter?
See, it's a completely personal, kind of a decision that what Ram has taken. As to whether he would like to be a part of it or not like to be a part of it, he has stated all these things. But very clearly, he did not understand or know the mechanics or how the board functions over a long period of time. He's been a cricket historian, a very good one, an excellent writer, whose understanding of the game and an eye for for the goodness of the game has been, is indisputable. But at the same time, the management of the game is something which you obviously did not know.
Okay,
For instance,
but
the way
there is another line in that letter which in fact would also reflect the manner in which the COA is perhaps functioning here, saying that a lot of the illegalities that were widely reported in the press were known in the public domain as well. The COA did not bring it to the notice of the court, did not issue clear directions asking the offenders to desist either. Does this reflect badly on the COA now, which in itself is a committee that has been formed by the Supreme Court for the Cleanup Act to make sure that the BCCI is not indulging in corrupt activities or is following the Lodha Committee recommendations to the T?
I will once again reiterate what I said right at the beginning. What has been going on for 50 years cannot be changed in 5 months. It has to take time. It is a process. It will take a little bit of time. The COA cannot be called as corrupt or bad in any sense of the word.
But but he means to say that the COA is helpless as well.
No, I think it needs time. It
Okay.
needs time. And I think all these are gentlemen who held high offices, and they know what kind of time spans, what kind of timelines are needed
Okay.
to redo an entire organization which is 50 to 60 years old. It doesn't happen overnight. However, the points made by Ram Guha are perfectly correct. But the timelines which are needed to make these things or rectify these things, I think they need a much longer time.
Okay.
And of course, I completely agree. The superstar culture in this country, at least in cricket, is something that we can do without.
Interesting view there. Please stay on with us. Getting in Himanshu Chaturvedi's voice on this here as well. Himanshu, we heard Mr. Krishnaswamy there say that while a lot of the issues that the BCCI continues to go ahead, which are largely being seen as illegal practices by Ramachandra Guha, were not taken up by COA, brought to the notice of the court. Do you agree that this would have required more time?
Certainly, you see, this has been debating over almost 4 years, and we've been talking of a cleanup, and I have also been of an opinion that a committee should come in and have enough time to clean, because the rot is not at the top. Rot is right from the bottom. And it's actually such a big, cozy club that it starts at the district level, to the state level, to the national level, to the international level. So, I say all these sports association which runs, even including the Olympic Association, is the biggest NGO fraud in the world. Because all of them uses country, uses national resources, and do what they like to do. So this committee should have had the patience. You can't overnight do everything. You can't throw people out in a minute. There is a structure. BCCI consists of units which are state-bound units. State units have district units. All of them have clubs playing cricket in there. And this mark has been running there since so long. So you can't say
But
that...
Himanshu, would you say that you still trust the COA to be cleaning up the BCCI here, despite the observations that Mr. Ramachandra Guha has made, that nothing seems to be moving forward?
See, exactly the point is that how long has this committee COA has been in existence? It's hardly any time.
Yeah.
And we are seeing changes are happening. Things are, at least if nothing, at least the people sitting in the BCCI know that somebody is watching them. So they can't do their meetings, they can't spend the money they wanted to. So there's been a restriction on their expenditure, there's been a restriction on the way they take decisions. There has been changes, there have been improvement, but you can't expect the 3 or 4 members to do magic overnight. I mean, it takes a little while to clean up the system, have right kind of people. So what has happened is Mr. Goa, I think, jumped too early.
Okay.
And I think if he had waited around, he could have expressed himself to people. And you need patience. And if you have 1 or 2 decisions, when you sit in a group, there are decisions taken by 4 people. So you can't say that because I want this decision to be done and everybody doesn't take my line.
Mr. Krishnaswamy, what would you say? What next for the Supreme Court here?
Well, I really don't know what the Supreme Court can do at this in this matter. I mean, you asked a man to be part of a COA. He doesn't want to be part of the COA. So he's perfectly within his rights. He has the freedom to be or not to be a part of it.
All right,
but
please.
Where does the COA go from here? I think it has to, kind of carefully look at each and everything, have a timeline of its own, and let that be known what the timeline is.
So it should be time-bound. Please stay with us. Our sports correspondent Aishwarya has to step in with a question here as well. Aishwarya, please go ahead.
Well, absolutely, sir, it's just not an observation, but it's an allegations to many issues. And, the 7 points now, I'd like to tell our viewers that all 7 points are what? Number 1 is that, Guha has written to COA that COA's failure to address the conflict of interest issues, and he has been specifically given an example. For example, national coaches neglecting national team at cost of IPL. So, Daredevils coach Rahul Dravid is also a charge of India A team as well as a junior team, and he has also been a coach of Delhi Daredevils and IPL team. So there is a conflict of interest arising in that. The second point that Guha has written in is that the BCCI contracted commentator Sunil Gavaskar being a head of players management company, and he specifically told that Sunil Gavaskar is head of a company which represents Indian cricketers while commenting on those cricketers as a part of BCCI TV commentary. So there is also a conflict of interest that has been arised. Number 3 point that he has written in his letter is that MS Dhoni given A-grade contract despite not being in a test team. So here it comes that MS Dhoni has not been.
All right.
Why has been he given
Absolutely.
the
As you
contract?
take us through those details, Aishwarya, please stay with us. Getting in Ms. Sharda Ogra, senior sports commentator and expert with us on the phone line. Thanks for being with us, ma'am. In your view, as is being also pointed out by a sports correspondent here, these are not just mere observations. These are outright allegations against certain names.
Yeah. They're all this, is known. Aishwarya is right when he's presenting all the facts. They are actually facts on the ground. I'm not precisely sure about whether Mr. Gavaskar has divested his stake in PMG or what. I'm not sure. But that's the only thing that you can look at as like an escape clause or whatever. But these are facts on the ground. I mean, this is all accepted. It's all there. There's nothing in it that's fictional. It's just that a lot of the time these things don't get talked about. They have existed in the past as well for quite a while. I mean, a lot, when...
Right. But you feel that this reflects a sort of helplessness that Ramachandra Guha has expressed, saying that even the COA perhaps cannot do enough, can do nothing on this issue?
I mean, the COA's hands are tied at this point, I believe, because they are not able to get direction from the court, because their status reports are sitting and waiting for the court to listen to it. The next it's going to do is going to be in July on the 14th. So they can't do anything one way or the other. So it is going to be it's a fairly slow process. You can understand Ram Guha's frustration as
right. So do you think that he's lost patience? He should have given more time to this, or does he feel in fact that the COA is in itself a futile effort?
I think we can't read his mind as to why. I think what has led to it has just been a definitely frustration in the fact that there is no sort of progress of the kind that he would like to see. We can't analyze and expect, to have him read, because he said so very plainly in his letter that he's given that these are the fault lines that they are, and they exist, and they've existed for a while now. And they're trying to, I think the one that is most sort of disturbing, I think, in real terms, because it directly affects the team, is what happened with Anil Kumble and his contract. I think that is, at the moment, that's the one that is like, hot button, red button, call it what you may. That's the one that is, that's the one that possibly will need to be addressed the fastest.
Okay. There are other experts who've spoken to us here on this, such as Himanshu Trivedi as well, Sharda, wherein which he said that you can't let your personal views or preferences get in the way as well. If your view is not necessarily being taken up by the other members of the COA, that really is no reason to resign. Do you think that could have been the reason?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that is the reason. Maybe it is. Seriously, I couldn't read through his mind and tell you, why this has happened, because he's resigned, because he finds it frustrating, because he finds it not, But I can say that the issues that are there, I wouldn't like to comment on what Ram Guha's intentions and what he should and shouldn't have done. It's a post that was given to him, which he accepted and which he now finds being, he's not satisfied with what he does. So with what he's able to do. And he's brought out certain points which are, absolutely valid and absolutely true.
Right. Aishwarya, please go ahead with the other points that you were that Mr. Ramachandra Guha has raised, that you were pointing out on how he was trying to express that the rot in the system unfortunately exists and the COA are neither doing much about it.
Well, absolutely, as Sharda was mentioning, it's all there, it's all given, and it's all happening within the BCCI. But these all points that Guha has written in this letter are all well known by all the BCCI officials. But one of the main points, the fourth point that he has written about Kumble's contract, and he has written that unprofessional way of handling the Indian coach issue. Kumble's contract coming under scrutiny despite his excellent past record on the eve of Champions Trophy. Remember, yesterday when we had a word with Interim Secretary Amitabh Chaudhary, he said on this question, specifically told to us that it's a process, it's a given process, and we have to do this process, just because 1 year tenure of Anil Kumble was ending after Champions Trophy, and if you will pick up the calendar year of Indian cricket team, one after another, every series is coming by and then end, and hence we have to choose particular one day to elect the coach. So it's the Champions Trophy which is coming in right here. The fifth point I would like to tell our viewers is that a total negligence of domestic cricketers match fee as compared to the international players. Remember, a few of the players, including Harbhajan Singh, including other top cricketers, are also has commented on this issue and raised this issue to the COA directly, including Anil Kumble, the head coach of India. The sixth point I would like to bring is that COA is silenced on the disqualified officials attending BCCI meetings. So this is the important issue that he has also raised in his sixth point, just because we have seen N. Srinivasan attending meetings in Delhi. We have seen different officials like Anurag Thakur, after his resignation, has also attended one of the meetings, but said that but when we asked the top officials after attending, they have specifically told that it's just we had a cup of tea, we are good friends, we are meeting together. So these are the questions which media has always raised to the officials.
Right, but Ms. Sharda Ogra, if you're still on the line here, it's not about the kind of issues that he's raised. As you were saying, a lot is already known in the public domain or within BCCI circles, but the fact that he says that the COA has observed all of this and continued to maintain its silence and inaction, unfortunately being complicit in this regard. Now that's an outright allegation against a body that he himself was a member of, the COA.
See, I think the point in this is not that the COA are the villains of the piece at this point. Ram Guha is upset with how things have gone. But if you're turning the your guns towards the COA, that's the wrong direction. That's exactly what the BCCI wants you to do. You just need to be very, very clear as to what is being highlighted here. Now, the point is that there is...
But Sharda, these are his own lines. These are his own lines in his letter.
That's fine.
Where he says that the COA is silent and it is being complicit in this regard.
It is a very civil and it's a very polite letter. And, is he right in being agitated? Absolutely he is right in being agitated. Does the COA have its own responses to what he has said to them? I'm sure they do. But in the light of what has happened now, I don't think the COA needed to have been brought into the Kumble issue But the point is, they were brought into the Kumble issue by the CEO bringing this to light to them, rather than because of the fact that there is no leadership in the BCCI at the moment.
Okay.
The people that do exist, Mr. Chaudhary said, "Oh, this is a figment of imagination," and that yesterday he said that, and now it happens to be absolutely untrue. It's not a figment of imagination; it's a fact. So you're dealing with all these things that are going on at the moment, and I don't think that you can definitely go after the COA. They are professionals with their own job to do, but the rot that has been pointed out by Ram Guha is what is happening in the BCCI and continues to happen. Whether the COA should have been quicker, do they have the powers to be quicker? What could they have done when these BCCI officials attended meetings? There is in far greater, more strict laws in this country are being flouted by people who think that those laws don't matter. The BCCI has done exactly the same thing.
Absolutely. So once again, he
Court.
exposes the BCCI there, and unfortunately, to an extent, also indicates how helpless or perhaps slow the COA is on this process. Many thanks for getting in your view on that, Ms. Sharda Ogra, Mr. Krishnaswamy, Himanshu Chaturvedi, our sports correspondent Aishwarya, with those details.